Denny Hamlin blasts the media for their coverage of 23XI's lawsuit against NASCAR. Let's get everyone up to speed. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Happy Friday. Earlier this week, one of the biggest NASCAR stories of this century broke, and folks are processing it in different ways. More on that in a moment. First, this episode is sponsored by 1821 Man-Made. 1821 offers top-shelf grooming goods for those who like fast cars that turn left. Their Prohibition-era products will have you living fast, feeling free, and smelling fresh. As the weather gets colder, the air gets drier, get ahead of things by stocking up on 1821's anti-flake shampoo and conditioner. Exfoliate your skin with their head-to-toe scrub. Use their beard oil to keep your hard-earned facial hair moisturized, and use their heavy-duty hand and body lotion that prevents cracking and soothes your skin. Head to 1821manmade.com right now and use promo code NASCAR20 to get a speedy 20% off your order for a limited time. Thank you to 1821 for sponsoring the show. First, let's get everyone up to speed. Wednesday morning, 23XI Racing and Front Row Motorsports filed a joint antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR in federal court. In the suit, the teams accuse both NASCAR and Jim France of, quote, unlawful monopolization of premier stock car racing by the France family in order to enrich themselves at the expense of the premier stock car racing teams that the fans come out to see and that sponsors and broadcasters value. 23XI and Front Row Motorsports have been chasing four main goals, or as Denny Hamlin has called them, four pillars throughout the charter negotiations. The teams want to make the charters permanent, they want a larger cut of the media revenue, they want more control over their IP, likeness, etc., and they want to be involved in major rule changes and big governing decisions. NASCAR has been owned and operated by the Frances for 76 years. The teams want a larger seat at the table. The teams are represented by well-known sports antitrust lawyer Jeffrey Kessler. This man has been instrumental in transforming NFL and NBA free agency and was largely responsible for the creation of name, image, and likeness across college sports. He says the goal of this lawsuit is to fundamentally change the way NASCAR does business. He said, quote, "This is reminiscent for me of many sports that have gone through a transformative model, sort of a moment when the legal style basically confronts them and says, either you're going to voluntarily change or you're going to be changed, and you can either get on the bus or get run over by the bus. No one wanted this litigation, but NASCAR didn't really give these teams any choice. You either submit to the bully or you fight. They're going to fight. We think at the end of the day, NASCAR is going to have to change because that's what the legal system is going to require." It's been more than 48 hours since this lawsuit was filed, and we still don't have an official response from NASCAR. But that hasn't stopped fans and media from forming their own strong opinions and sharing them online. I want to make this clear. Until we hear from NASCAR, the conversation is going to appear one-sided. 23XI, Front Row, Jeffrey Kessler have all made very strong statements this week. NASCAR has not said anything. So until they respond, 23XI, Front Row, they are going to dominate the headlines. That's how this works. I also want to preface this topic by saying that I don't typically like to talk about other NASCAR media. I consider myself part of the media. Everyone is allowed to have their own opinion. I share my opinions here. You, the audience, are welcome to listen to, watch, read, whoever you'd like. Even folks I haven't met or maybe only had brief conversations with, I often consider colleagues. And I hate to be critical of my colleagues' work because I know that I myself am not perfect. Sometimes I fall short of expectations. I accept that. That's why I typically stay away from this topic, but today I am going to take the plunge. Mainly because I want to highlight a concerning trend I've seen this week. This trend of established NASCAR media members refusing to debate the actual content of this lawsuit. This is an important topic, one that could shape the sport for decades to come. I feel like when some in the media are arguing in bad faith, we should call attention to that. There are a few specific examples that have popped up in the past 24 hours or so that I'm going to address. Let's start here. Jeffrey Kessler, the lawyer representing the teams, has done a number of interviews this week. He's done a press conference. He was on one of the Dirty Mo Media podcasts. He also appeared on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio with Dave Moody. I actually give Dave Moody a ton of credit for this. You can tell he's been doing this a long time. He asked some tough questions, pushed back here and there, but I thought was extremely fair considering he is on a platform, SiriusXM Channel 90, that is owned by NASCAR, the defendant in this case. So I give credit to him for having Kessler on the show and I think being extremely fair. Where SiriusXM got in some hot water this week is when they suspiciously deleted the Jeffrey Kessler interview segment from their platforms. Reporters Toby Christie and Matt Weaver both noted this on social media, and that got the attention of 23XI Racing co-owner Denny Hamlin, who posted this to social media. Hamlin said, quote, "While censorship is a big problem in today's media world, Channel 90 might be the poster child. An interview didn't go the way they hoped after our attorney continued to state fact after fact, even though they tried their best to refute. They have since edited/deleted that interview off their channels because the narrative doesn't fit their beliefs. If that doesn't convince you of the bias, then nothing will." Strong words from Denny Hamlin condemning SiriusXM's NASCAR channel. For what it's worth, a few hours later, the interview was re-uploaded, restored. It can now be found on SiriusXM's platform. So either there was a mistake, they heard the criticism, whatever the case may be, eventually they did restore the interview. I'll give them credit for that. But still, not a good look that they, at least initially, deleted a segment that was highly critical of NASCAR. But that wasn't the only media snafu that Hamlin took issue with. ESPN's Ryan McGee framed his article around the timing of the lawsuit, especially in the wake of Hurricane Helene, which has decimated parts of North Carolina, NASCAR's basically home state. This is what Ryan McGee wrote in ESPN yesterday, quote, "While so many in the NASCAR community were pushing their way through a week of sleepless nights, wondering what more can we do, others from within that same industry decided this was the perfect time to announce that they were suing the sanctioning body. It was selfish, classless, and thoughtless." Wow, strong words there from ESPN's Ryan McGee. Denny Hamlin simply replied on social media with, "Good grief, Ryan." Good grief indeed. There are so many things wrong with McGee's argument here. First and foremost, what on earth do hurricane relief efforts have to do with business conflicts that have been going on for 2+ years? How are they even remotely related? That's problem number one. Problem number two, there is no mention in this ESPN article of the $1 million Michael Jordan and 23XI have pledged to help Hurricane Helene victims. Instead, he slips in one single line saying that 23XI is accepting relief donations. Yeah, they're doing a lot more than that. I've never met Ryan McGee, but again, I hate to be critical of fellow NASCAR media members' work, but this whole article completely missed the mark. Ryan McGee has deservedly earned a ton of respect over the years, but he is correctly, in my opinion, getting dragged on social media for this take. There's a third problem with his piece, though, and it's that he's criticizing the 23XI Front Row lawsuit without actually debating any of its content. The teams are arguing that NASCAR has too much control and they're using that influence to squash competition. Do you have an opinion on that? Do you think they're in the wrong? Do you think there's some truth to their accusations? Let's debate that. What about the accusations that the teams were strong-armed into signing a deal at midnight? Any take? Any opinion on that? No? Okay. I mentioned this was a trend, though, because McGee's not the only one guilty of this. Larry McReynolds, America's crew chief, who has a SiriusXM NASCAR Radio Channel 90 show, was also very critical of the 23XI lawsuit yesterday, but again, failed to argue against any of the lawsuit's actual content. This was a quote from Larry McReynolds on the air yesterday. "We've got an organization that's been here for not even 4 years that all of a sudden is saying, we gotta change the way NASCAR is run. I'm all about change. Change is what makes you better. But you know what? When I see Richard Childress, Jack Roush, Rick Hendrick, and Joe Gibbs, who've been here longer, and they signed off and said, this is good, we're okay. And then these people that have been not competitive or only been here for 4.5 years have been saying the way we've done business for 76.5 years is wrong. I love Larry Mack, likable guy, incredible career as a competitor. What he's done for broadcasting the past couple of decades is amazing as well. He's entitled to his opinion, but again, the problem I have is he's not arguing against the actual content of the lawsuit. He's not addressing any of the team's accusations or any of their financial concerns. His argument is simply, you've been here for 4 years, the France family has been here for 76 years. You haven't paid your dues yet. Your opinion is less valid because you haven't paid your dues yet. I fundamentally disagree with that way of thinking. Sure, experience matters, but a good argument is a good argument. It doesn't matter who's making it. Again, I'm not trying to take one side or another here. Maybe 2311 is making a bad argument, but if they are, criticize that. Not that they've only been around for 4 years. What gives them the right to change everything? I talked about this a few weeks ago, but some of those mega team owners McReynolds mentions, like Rick Hendrick, like Roger Penske, they have massive industries that prop up their racing business. And this system has been good to them. 17 of the last 20 NASCAR Cup Series championships have been won by Penske, Hendrick, or Gibbs. Powerful people want to protect their power. They may not make much money. Jeff Gordon said Hendrick hasn't made a profit in years, but they do win a lot of trophies. That's all that matters to these guys. Mid-sized teams like 2311 Front Row have a hard time keeping up under this current business model. Why would Hendrick or Penske want to change that? Many of the teams that were around in 2016 when the charter system was first introduced are no longer around. Furniture Row Racing, Levine Family Racing, Go Fast Racing, Chip Ganassi, Germain, the list goes on and on. Soon, Stuart Haas Racing. I get that the France family has done some great things for this sport over their 76 years. But there's a real argument to be made that the sport kind of needs an overhaul with all these teams coming and going, closing their doors. Driver salaries have plummeted over the last decade. The entire industry has scaled down immensely. Major sponsors are harder to find. Clearly, there's room to improve. And if 2311 Racing is the team with the good idea, who cares if they've only been around 4 years? A good idea is a good idea. And if it's not a good idea, tell me why it's not. That's why I'm waiting on NASCAR to officially release a response. Instead, we're getting these partial responses from people who are on NASCAR-sponsored platforms. As this lawsuit stews and eventually moves on to the next step, whatever that may be, it's important to have good faith arguments about the content of the lawsuit. Again, this lawsuit is extremely important to the future of stock car racing. The discussion should center around the actual content, and fans should hold media to that standard, and should also be aware of which platforms are directly owned or connected to NASCAR itself. Anyway, hopefully everyone is up to speed now. That's my reaction to the media firestorm sweeping across social media the past 24 hours. Share your thoughts down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for tuning in. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more stock car racing content every single day here on Out of the Groove. Big thank you to my Patreon supporters as well. Truck Series race later today. It's an early Truck Series race for a Friday especially. I think it's a 4:30 Eastern start, so shortly after this video is posted, it's probably time to flip the channel over to FS1. Hope y'all enjoy that race. I will see you later this weekend. Have a good one, folks.